first off, thank you for coming in studio to have this conversation. I greatly appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much, Alison. It's my pleasure to be here at the studio.
So, should I say welcome back to Quebec City?
Yeah, of course, welcome back. But for me, it's really about traveling forward into a new life, whether I'm from Quebec City. For me, it's traveling to Quebec City with everything that I've done before, with my wife, with my dog, with having a new view of Quebec City right now. This is what's really amazing for me.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing you hint on the experience that you have, which is quite impressive on paper, I have to say, and I'd like to get into that in a moment. But ultimately, what brings you to Quebec City? Why would you choose to work in Quebec City?
So really, it's all about working at Le Champlain, at the Château Frontenac. I've known somebody who is David Ibon, who came to me and told me, Gabriel, there's a spot for you as a chef as Le Champlain, and I think it would suit you very, very well. And then he speaks about the project, how the Champlain is, and then I came to visit, and I just felt wonderful about this opportunity. It's an amazing place to work. There's so much to learn because I'm used to work in smaller restaurants. Mm-hmm. So this is a whole new world for me, you know, working as in a big hotel such as Le Château Frontenac. Mm-hmm. And also, you know, there's so many kitchens, so many, you know, there's the banquet, there's a whole patisserie section, there's so many equipment that I've never used. And every day I'm using them. I'm like, wow, this is incredible.
Oh, give me an example. What's one piece of equipment you've never used?
There's big steam pots, of course, you know, but this is something I would be used to before. But I mean, it's just like all those ovens that you can. What would be a super huge task? You know, the cooks with whom I work with, they do it super quickly with all this equipment, and for me, it's impressive. I'm like, wow, we received so many, you know, lamb bones today. You good with that? He's like, yeah, sure, fine. And then 10 minutes later, it's all done, and I'm like, well, how did you do that? And it's, we have this machine and this and that, and it goes super well for that. And
wow.
For me, it's amazing.
Wow, it sure is amazing. From an outsider's perspective, it's exactly what you're saying now. It's so big. It's the Fairmont, it's the Château Frontenac. You're from Quebec City. There's this aura of prestigious around the Château Frontenac. What was that feeling like when you found out that you had the job of being the chef of the Champlain?
Well, it felt wonderful. And also I was like, I have so much work to do. Let's do it right now.
That's it? That's how you focus on? Because I would focus on the fact that there was Jean Soulard who worked there at the chef, who put the Champlain on the map. There was Stéphane Moda, who came as a subversive chef, who was a little bit of a badass as well. You've worked in a badass environment with Le Mousseau just recently, and you're bringing a little bit of that. So what's your take on this? How do you start the job?
Exactly. So with all the chef that was there before, I feel for me, it is impressive, of course. But when you get into what you have to do, it's really I have to work. You know, it's like let's work. Let's start now. Let's start ordering stuff. Let's start this project. Let's speak with everybody. Let's learn who is the people I work with. So for me, it's really I look forward at every day at like, what am I gonna do today? What is it that I have to achieve? And I have to do it quite fast because we have a lot of projects to come. The new menu, which is will be super amazing the end of May.
Yeah.
And meeting all the new suppliers because I'm from Montreal. I've been from Quebec City, but I've not been here for 12 years working. So meeting all the suppliers, it's really what is amazing to me. I've been meeting with a lot of suppliers, and what is great about Quebec City is that the suppliers are very close to Le Château. It's very easy to have access to these people and to meet them, speak to them, learn their trades. This is what's great about Quebec City. When we were in Montreal, it was always, you know, you have to cross bridges and there's traffic and
proximity
and that,
takes a whole other perspective.
Exactly. So the proximity is really what brought me to Le Château. Also.
It's interesting. You mentioned your parcours, and at the beginning of the conversation when I introduced you, we mentioned the fact that you worked in Noma, you worked in Faviken, you worked in Michelin star establishments. What do you take from these establishments that you are putting at work at the Champlain? For example, what did you learn at Faviken that is part of you now that you use in your everyday cooking?
So when I was at Faviken, it was very, local produce. And by local, I mean you walk to pick them yourself.
Well, literally. For example,
Exactly.
you would walk out the kitchen and go pick the
in my
ingredients
list, I
yourself.
had to pick 120 of these flowers, 100 of these herbs, and to have a very neat mise en place. And, learning and touching and feeling all these ingredients, these herbs, these fruits, and then working them to keep the natural beauty of these ingredients is really what I learned through Faviken. And also Noma. Noma was more about all the fermentation process and, using one ingredient with this particular technique or another technique if you want, because you want to achieve these textures or this visual aspect with the ingredients. This was an incredible place to work for sure. And also I really learned how to work in an organized manner, like very, very, very organized places. Technically when you cook, and also in your mindsets, how do you work? The time frames is very strict in these restaurants, so this is what I learned from them.
That's fascinating. There is also this aspect that we've heard a lot about in the past couple of years, especially with regards to Noma when René Redzepi, the chef, announced that he was closing the establishment for 2024, of a somewhat toxic environment in these establishments. What was your experience like working at Noma as a cook?
When you're at Noma, at least when I was at Noma in 2016, you would work for sure all day long. You wake up, you go to Noma by walk or by bike. Fortunately, I was living close by. And then you work all day until midnight and 1. And you do a lot of small stuff, like picking herbs, picking particular leaves of thymes and separating the thyme flowers, for example. And then you organize them because it's such a big environment. Yeah. Everything is tightly organized. And, but, I mean, when you open your eyes, when you're picking your thyme and you see what the other cooks around you are doing, what the chef de partie of this section is doing, what is everyone like bringing onto the plates by their collective effort, this is really where you learn at Noma. If you just focus on what you're doing, it looks like an immense task of force of stuff that you do all the day that is the same. But really, when you look at what is the end results, how is the client, because we were serving the client as well, the customer, and all of this big frame, when you look around, is really where you learn. And also I wrote a lot of recipes when I had time. So
so you have a little black book.
Yeah, of course you have to have a black book. I think every cook should have a black book.
Yeah, I've heard of those black books. You taught about hyperlocal, picking ingredients, of meeting with, not meeting, but getting a chance to understand the environment that the produce grows in, fermentation. Do you feel that you'll still be able to do that when you're at Champlain?
So it's a whole different approach at Le Champlain, because we do around 100 people every night, 100 customers every night. Let's do it
even
again.
More than that. Even more than that.
Yeah. And there's many events. But the difference is, when I was in small restaurants, you do everything yourself. And here at Le Champlain, like, you meet people who do their work. They pick herbs for you, so you can choose with them which herbs do you want to pick. Or you meet with, a kombucha producer, and he's gonna, produce kombucha for you. And it's all about having a bigger network of people and working with their crafts, because also, when you work in a small restaurant, maybe you do your own bread. But here I've met with a fantastic bread maker, Monsieur Borderon. And, he milled his own flour, which is even more fantastic than what I could ever achieve myself. So, just in a different perspective, it's bigger, you meet more people, you work with more people. And I think this is a very big challenge when you come from a small restaurant. But this is what makes it fun and different.
In French, you would say something like avoir le moyen de ses ambitions.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
have a lot of people around you working towards making your vision come true. Is that scary for you? Because, correct me if I'm wrong here, Gabriel, but is this the first time that you have the entire power of your vision in order to put that together the way you want it, and you have the people around you to do that?
Well, I think that when you come with ideas, it always comes through a lot of different people in the process. It can be your boss, it can be your producers and your employees. So it's much more of, where am I at Le Champlain? I decide of what I want to do, most of the part of it, and I have to work with people to achieve this goal. And this is what I like to do. I like to explain someone how to do something very perfectly. I like to meet the producer and understand, every bit of what he is doing. So like picking flowers, making flour also for bread, meeting with the producer that makes our beef. And this is something that I can achieve at Le Champlain. I can drive there and meet the person and talk with them and see where they work and learn to work with them as well.
How does that help? How does that help for a chef to meet with the producer and to understand where the product comes from and how it is grown and what it is fed? What does that give you?
Well, it gives you really the satisfactory that when you cook with these ingredients, you know where it has been, how it has been fed. Maybe you met him before. When you see the tree where it grows, those camrys. How do you say camrys in English?
Haskaps.
Haskaps, yeah, haskap berries. When you've seen the trees where the haskap berries are being picked, and when you receive them in your kitchen, you really will try very hard not to waste them.
Oh, that's interesting. That's really interesting.
And then you learn to love your ingredients also. And when you love your ingredients, you love how you cook, where you cook, I think that it makes a very fantastic meal at the end of the day.
People heard the word flour a couple of times. Flour not as in farine, but flour as in plant, flowers.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you actually cook with flowers? Do you eat flowers? Can we eat flowers?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of edible flowers and plants. And I'm really looking forward that spring comes out very hard. Like today, it's very sunny. And I want those flowers and herbs to grow because I want our foragers to go and pick them so I can show them to our cooks. Like, look, this is the ingredients that we have around us. And this is wonderful. One of our cooks today is going to bring some cedar from his garden to do an infusion.
Wow.
So I really wish it does not forget, though. We need it.
It's about being a chef also is about learning to let go, to distribute the orders to make sure people...
We'll do it tomorrow.
Okay, that's good. You mentioned at the beginning of the conversation that you're currently working on your menu, that it will be unveiled at the end of May. Do you see already some challenges in front of you, or maybe some things that you are now able to do that you were not able to do before, that you did not have the opportunity?
So the big challenge is when you come to a new place, the equipment is different, where everything is in your kitchen is different, and this influences a lot how you cook and what you do at the end. So of course when you come to Le Champlain, you have all these equipment, so it's very fun. But also it's very different. You should look at me do something, and I look very lost because I'm like, where's my spoons? Where's my pan?
Yeah, for sure.
In a few months, I will be, more comfortable. But at this moment, it's very funny to see me cook.
So would you say that your first menu is maybe not representative of who you are as a chef, but maybe the third or the fourth one will be?
Well, I think the first menu will be super interesting because it's all about how wonderful I feel at coming at Le Champlain. How wonderful I want the guest to feel when he enters Le Champlain and when he eats, the food that we were gonna cook, that we will gonna be cooking. Here comes my English, and so it will be representative, and that's where the challenge is to make it work how I want it to be at the end.
Last question.
Absolutely.
You've traveled the world. You've been to Montreal. You've been to great establishments. What's so beautiful about Quebec City right now? Do you feel as though there's something happening here on the culinary scene?
Exactly. I strongly believe that Quebec City is the next capital city for the gastronomic scene, and I want to be part of it. And this opportunity at Le Champlain for me I could not let it go. I had to be there and to work at making it happen, because you go outside and you see your environment. It is so fresh. The air is fresh. You see the St. Lawrence River. You can probably see our producers on the other side working almost, and this is what attracts me to Quebec City.
Bienvenue, Gabriel. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Alison, for having me.
Cool. Voilà, c'est fait. Ta première entrevue officiellement. Merci.
Ça sonne bien, je fais pas trop de bruit de chaise.
Non, c'est parfait. Colin, c'est bien le fun. Qu'est-ce que je te souhaite pour la suite dans la création de ce premier menu?
Que tout se passe très bien.
Oui. Est-ce que tout va
ça
pour le mieux?
se passe très bien. C'est juste, je travaille vraiment fort en ce moment.
J'en doute absolument pas. As-tu fait une découverte d'un nouvel ingrédient, d'un nouveau producteur qui t'inspire beaucoup en ce moment?
Fredo, j'ai rencontré Fredo. Puis lui était vraiment gentil, puis ça l'a cliqué. Le bœuf à Fredo, il fait du Wagyu à Saint-Antoine-du-Tilly. Vraiment gentil.
Oui.
Puis j'ai vraiment hâte de pouvoir que le menu soit sorti, puis qu'on puisse aussi comme avoir le temps d'aller à Charlevoix, de rencontrer des producteurs. J'ai hâte de rencontrer des agriculteurs avec qui on va pouvoir parler de légumes, des choses comme ça.
Oui. Établir des relations à long terme, finalement.
Oui, exactement. Fait que là, tu sais, j'arrive, c'est comme, OK, il faut qu'on achète des assiettes, il faut que je vois comment les employés fonctionnent, il faut qu'on réorganise la cuisine, il faut qu'on travaille fort.
Mettre ça à ton image à toi.
Où sont les choses? Où suis-je? Je suis au 2e étage dans un placard en ce moment.
Est-ce que c'est impressionnant, tu sais, comparativement aux autres établissements, est-ce que c'est impressionnant de voir le garde-manger? Est-ce que c'est impressionnant de voir... Tu as parlé rapidement là, de l'équipement, que ça t'a saisi un peu, mais est-ce que c'est impressionnant pour toi de voir l'accessibilité des ingrédients?
12 chambres froides avec chacune leur fonction. Il y a des blast freezers qui sont... Je savais même pas qu'ils en faisaient des modèles aussi gros comme ça. Tu as des personnes qui sont dédiées à l'économa, donc ils ouvrent des boîtes, ils classent les choses, puis ils t'apportent les produits. Tu as un acheteur, fait que tout passe par lui. Fait qu'il faut que ce soit ton grand chum.
Wow.
Puis,
la personne à soudoyer, c'est toujours l'acheteur. Il va y avoir des enveloppes brunes.
C'est comme, tu sais, là, on a choisi des assiettes. Donc, tu sais, avoir le processus de choisir des assiettes, c'est quelque chose qui est très difficile, inspirant, magique. C'est ça qui va déterminer un peu aussi qu'est-ce qu'on va mettre dedans, de la façon qu'on va faire les choses.
Ouais.
Donc ça, c'était...
Qu'est-ce qui est difficile
là-dedans? On avait
des
tables, parce qu'on avait des tables et des tables d'assiettes, puis t'es comme, OK, qu'est-ce que j'ai besoin? Qu'est-ce que je veux? Puis là, tu touches les assiettes, puis t'es comme, ouais, je pourrais utiliser ça en faisant ça, puis là, t'en as d'autres, puis là, finalement, t'es mis sur la table, puis là, t'as 26 choix, puis t'es comme, OK, j'ai un budget X, maintenant, faut que...
Y en a-tu comme trop de choix à un moment donné? Tu voudrais être un peu plus restreint dans tes choix?
Non, il n'y a pas trop de choix. Mais c'est vraiment, t'es comme, OK. Là, je commençais à verser de l'eau dans les assiettes pour voir comment la sauce se ramassait, quand on la transporte aussi, tu sais, parce qu'il y a quand même beaucoup de voyagement de suiteurs et de saveurs. Est-ce que ça se transporte bien? Est-ce que ça se prend bien? Est-ce que cette assiette-là va bien dans la verrière? Est-ce qu'elle va bien dans l'endroit central, dans les salles VIP? Tu sais, c'est comme, est-ce que genre ça reflète un peu le côté brass, bois, lumière, sombre, le foyer, tu sais, c'est comme tout ça, j'avais des choix de cuillères, puis c'était 6 choix de cuillères dorées, j'ai pris les 6, puis je les ai mis sur la table. Non,
qu'est-ce qui te fait dire ça? Ouais, qu'est-ce qui te fait dire le ou? C'est quoi? C'est le toucher? C'est quoi?
Tu la mets, c'est sa forme avec la table, les décors, tu sais, c'est vraiment... on essaie de faire en sorte que tout soit cohérent, tu sais.
Wow! J'ai vraiment hâte de vivre ça.
Ouais.
J'ai vraiment hâte de vivre ça. Wow! C'est excitant pour toi.
Ouais.
C'est excitant pour la Ville de Québec, en tout cas, de voir quelqu'un comme toi qui a un si grand parcours de s'installer au Champlain, avoir le moyen de ses ambitions.
Les gens en cuisine sont super contents, tu sais, on fait des trucs. Hier, on a reçu une trentaine de livres avec des bois, tu sais. Puis mon collègue Pierre, j'étais comme, t'es-tu à l'aise de faire ça? Il était comme, oui, je suis vraiment hâte. Puis je suis comme, parfait. J'étais allé le voir 2 heures après, j'étais comme, est-ce que ça va? Il était comme, ouais, il fait un petit peu froid, mais c'est le fun. Puis, il arrive à la moitié, puis je suis comme genre, cool, est-ce que tu veux faire l'autre moitié demain? Je suis comme, non, je fais ça aujourd'hui. Puis je suis comme genre, yes, good job, morceau de robot.
Wow. Est-ce qu'il y a une petite crainte qui s'établit aussi, sachant que celui qui était là juste avant toi, il est parti très, très rapidement, puis qu'il n'a pas été en mesure justement de remplir la mission qu'on lui a donnée?
Non. Le passé, c'est le passé, puis maintenant, c'est le futur. C'est le présent et le futur. Puis, tu sais, c'est comme partout, c'est comme dans tous les domaines. Tu arrives à quelque part, puis tu fais avec ce que tu as. Fait que là, j'arrive à quelque part, puis j'ai une belle équipe, on a du matériel à profusion, on a besoin de quelque chose. On claque des doigts, puis c'est fait. Il y a tous les corps de métier au Champlain. Fait que j'ai un problème de frigo. Le frigoriste, il est là. on a un problème de soudure sur une tablette. Le soudeur, il arrive avec sa machine, tu sais, c'est comme...
Wow.
C'est fantastique. On a besoin de planches à découper. On a un atelier de menuiserie au complet en bas, tu sais, c'est fantastique. L'évier coule, service technique, plombier arrive, change l'évier, tu sais, c'est comme...
Donc, c'est l'endroit parfait pour créer.
Je trouve que c'est fantastique, tu sais. Juste hâte que le premier menu soit atterri, pour que là, je puisse faire « Ouf! Parfait ». Puis là, on commence à évoluer, tu sais.
Wow. Super. Merci.
Mais date, tu sais, on commence déjà la mise en place, puis ça se passe fluidement. Là.
Ça fit les assiettes puis les cuillères? Ça marche?
Elles sont pas encore arrivées.
Ah! Je te souhaite que ça arrive à temps. Merci beaucoup. Merci. Ah, c'est cool. Attends, as-tu comme retiré tes souliers pour faire...